In the marble halls of Rome's wealthy, where mosaics glittered beneath torchlight and fountains whispered in shaded courtyards, the most valuable possessions were not always statues of gods or jewels from the East. Sometimes, the most prized treasures were men themselves, captives of war who carried not swords, but knowledge. These were the scholar slaves, intellectual giants stripped of freedom, whose minds were sold at prices rivaling estates and villas. After Rome's conquest of Greece, the empire was flooded with prisoners unlike any Rome had ever seen. These were not peasants or warriors. They were philosophers, mathematicians, physicians, and teachers. Rome admired Greek wisdom, yet treated its bearers as commodities. Auction blocks in the capital displayed not just strong bodies for labor, but scholars whose worth was calculated by the brilliance of their minds. A Greek tutor, trained in rhetoric, could cost more than an entire farm. A physician, skilled in the secrets of healing, could be worth more than a company of soldiers. For the wealthy elite, owning such a man was a mark of status, as much as it was a practical investment. Imagine the scene. A captured philosopher once lecturing in the open-air forums of Athens, now standing in chains before Roman bidders. His reputation precedes him, his skills recited by the auctioneer as though he were a rare artifact. The gavel falls, and with it, the price of wisdom is set in silver. From that day forward, his genius belongs not to himself, but to his master. He may teach a senator's son, compose treatises, or advise on medicine, but every word he speaks, every thought he pens, enriches another man. The irony was brutal. The same Roman youth who would one day rise in the forum, eloquent in speech and sharp in logic, owed his education to a man who was forbidden from even calling himself free. Wealthy families built their prestige on the intellectual labor of men who had been reduced to property. And yet, these scholar slaves wielded an invisible power. They shaped the next generation of Rome's leaders. They infused Roman culture with Greek philosophy, ethics, and science. In their captivity, they transformed Rome itself. Some were so valued that their masters paid prices higher than those for villas overlooking the Tiber. Accounts survive of Greek doctors whose purchase costs equaled the fortune of small estates. A skilled mathematician or astronomer could be valued at sums unimaginable to ordinary Romans. Knowledge, in a society that measured everything, became both priceless and enslaved. Rome had found a way to chain genius itself. But there was tragedy behind the glitter. Many of these men had been free citizens in their homelands, teachers revered by students, thinkers respected in their cities. Conquest stripped them of dignity, reduced them to the status of cattle, and placed a price tag upon their brilliance. To the Romans, their captivity was a triumph. To the scholars themselves, it was a living paradox, minds celebrated, yet bodies shackled. And yet, some rose within their bondage. Masters who recognized the extraordinary value of their slaves sometimes granted them privileges, comfortable quarters, freedom to write, or even eventual manumission. There are tales of philosopher slaves who became trusted advisors, shaping policy behind the scenes. One could argue that through the chains of slavery, Greek thought conquered Rome more completely than any army ever did. Still, the shadow of the market never disappeared. Even the most learned slave knew he was, in the end, an investment. If his master fell into debt, he could be sold to another. His fate depended not on merit alone, but on the balance of accounts. The marketplace that had once priced his wisdom would always have the power to erase his dignity. And so the question lingers, haunting and unresolved. What is the true price of knowledge? Is it the coins paid at auction, the fortune exchanged for a philosopher's mind? Or is it the cost borne by the man himself, who traded freedom for chains while enriching the empire that enslaved him? In Rome, Even wisdom had a market value. And the paradox endures. Knowledge was priceless, yet in Rome, it was always for sale.